All right, welcome back everyone to the Morning Run podcast. The time has come. It's an amazing day today. You know why? Because this is the opening day episode of the Morning Run. Opening day is going to be tomorrow. By the time this podcast comes out, we just wanted to say happy opening day to all of you from the Morning Run, the best podcast in the baseball world. It's going to be a great season this year. We are going to be putting out as much content as we can for you guys and just trying to do our best to update everyone on baseball news, around the country from a national level, I guess you could say. We're not obviously at that peak yet, but that's what we hope to grow towards. So thank you guys for listening and everything. So Tyler, what's going on? How you doing? Are you excited?
Yeah, obviously so excited. Baseball's so close to being here. It took us a little while to, I feel like, get going and recording a little behind the scenes here, behind the curtains for people. Mm-hmm. We were discussing, what we're going to talk about, preparing the podcast. Obviously, front and center in the baseball world is this whole massive gambling scandal with Ohtani's interpreter. Mm-hmm. And after we figured out, what we were doing, in honor of Ippei, our unsung hero, we spent the next 30 minutes looking at DraftKings, making some parlays for opening day. So I'm excited. We're hype. We're energized. We've got the energy going.
Yeah, that's actually, I didn't know if you were going to talk about that, because as you were starting to talk about all that behind the scenes, that's the exact thing I thought of, how ironic that was, that we ended the whole interaction by looking at DraftKings. But yeah, the big topic that is in everyone's head right now is the Shohei Ohtani, more Ippei Mitsuhara, his translators scandal. And first and foremost, basically just the facts that we know as they're presented to us so far is that Ippei Mizuhara was caught using an illegal sports gambling ring that was more based out of Las Vegas, and it seems like he's more like casualty damage, like just because you were using it, and like the FBI is trying to uncover the sports ring, and right,
Yeah. I know a good amount about this, and there's some connections that gonna surprise you if you're not aware of them in terms of all this. The feds are investigating just illegal gambling like they normally do. That happens. Sports gambling, one of those things. There was this guy, I believe his last name is Nix, notorious Vegas bookie, specifically known to work with players in gambling. The feds busted this guy. They shut him down, his operation, they did the same thing that just happened with the whole Ippei situation. That's how Yasiel Puig was found out and charged with things, who was the person there. However, another person mentioned in there is this guy that was the bookie for Ippei, which tipped them off to this new bookie that was going on. And then they raid him, find out the subsequent information with Ippei, Ohtani's involved. We're here now, but crazy to think that Yasiel Puig and his betting is somehow intertwined and has led us to this moment here with the biggest star in baseball being impacted by a massive scandal involving sports betting. It's insane, but so many twists and turns.
That's actually really funny. It's involving the same team that Yasiel Puig got to start with too, the Dodgers. But Ohtani's kind of been caught in the line of fire because he, Mizuhara is his translator, but I think above that, really, they're like best friends. They were colleagues together in Japan, and then when he signed with the Angels, he was the guy picked to be the translator to come over to America. And there's countless videos of the two of them in the dugout, horsing around, playing around. In a sense, Ippei was made sort of part of the team in a way. He's just not hitting, He was the catcher in the home run derby for Shohei Ohtani's, performance when he participated. And, he experienced all these things. I think he was much more than, I think we can say, than just a translator, even though that's his professional title. So, he either stole money from Ohtani, which is what Ohtani is alleging, his lawyers rather than actually Ohtani, And then the other thing that is being said is that he was gambling, ran into problems, gambled more, ended up in this debt, and then he went to Ohtani. Wasn't too specific in regards to what this debt was, but Ohtani, wanting to help his friend, gave him money. So there's two lines of thought, because Ohtani's lawyers are saying this man stole money from my client Shohei Ohtani, embezzled this, and was illegally gambling. And the story that's kind of being told in the media and by Ipe, and really I think by most people also, that really was the first information we heard, is that Ipe has this gambling problem, wanted help, and Ohtani decided to help him. So then comes the statement. And at first we thought it was going to be questions. He's going to stand up there and, face the music, so to speak. But we quickly found out that that was not the case. He was just going to go there, read in Japanese, and have a new translator tell us what he says in English. So just a normal statement from Shohei Ohtani. And Tyler, I'll let you take the reins here.
Thanks, Victor. No problem. As always. I will start here by not talking about my opinions or things I have said, but things that have come from the mouth directly of Shohei Ohtani. Just because the statement, you mentioned it was brief, it was short, it had no media questions. So it's pretty easy for me to just go through this all. It's all in a tweet thread. I'm very saddened and shocked that someone who I trusted has done this, never bet on baseball or other sports, never asked someone to do that on my behalf, never went to a bookmaker up until a couple days ago. I didn't know this was happening. Ipe has been stealing money from my account and has told lies. All of this has been a complete lie. I started to feel there was something amiss during the initial team meeting. I never agreed to pay off the debt or make payments to the bookmaker. It was an absurd thing to think that was happening, and I contacted my representatives at that point. That's when the reps found out Ipe was lying about what he was using money for. I am beyond shocked. It's really hard to verbalize how hard I am feeling at this point. I am completely assisting in all investigations. I look forward to focusing on this season. That was the end of the statement. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Shohei Ohtani, what do we know about Shohei Ohtani? Well, he has a wife, and we just found out, but they've been together for like years or whatever, and no one knew about this. This is the biggest star in baseball. This person is incredibly private, and they have been successful in making their life private at this point. And a lot of times when there's not a lot of actual information or real like story or things that we know about the actual allegations and everything happening, people then will just be able to run amok with anything. I think if we look and think logically, in just the general situation, not including any names, but if this was to happen, I think the most likely scenario is that I think Ohtani may have been defrauded a little bit along this way. Plausibly, if we're not looking at all the outside situation, just what's most likely to happen, how does someone get into this level of debt from this person? You would think that's my understanding of it. Now, I think the problem is that when Ohtani wants to be private, keeps his life private, and is continuing that, with the short statement, not taking any questions from the media, I think it creates a lot of problems. I think the smoking gun in this story is the fact that originally statements from Ohtani said, yes, I gave him that money to pay off the debt. And people want clarification as to why that changed. And I think a very logical explanation for that could be that, hey, it was a lot more than I thought. I told him, yeah, I can give you this. And then it was something, I told him I'd give you this money for this. And then I was lied to at that point. And I gave him that under this assumption, and it wasn't the case. But Ohtani is not clarifying that. I don't necessarily know if Ohtani clarifying that will help anyone with their opinions they have, because people are pretty hype on this story in a lot of ways. But I will say, I think probably Ohtani was not super involved in this in all likelihood. I know a lot of people want to connect every dot, but we truthfully don't have nearly enough details. I know the federal government is investigating this, and those boys don't play around. They have a 92% success rate if they go to court and try you there. So if they feel like you are breaking the law, they will get you and they will probably be successful there. So let's let that play out before we really make any massive accusations here. That's me.
Yeah, I mean, I feel this is what I think happened. I think when we hear about gambling, the biggest comparison that everyone's making is, oh, Pete Rose, right? Um, there's many types of people that gamble, I think also, everyone who gambles is not just a degenerate person who's like, oh, I need to gamble massive amounts of money, blah. It's got to be, Pete Rose. Well, I think even he could have described himself as a degenerate gambler at one point. He almost basically invented the idea of memorabilia because that's like the urban legend because he was the first player in really any sport to sell his own clothes and cleats and bats and stuff as souvenirs. Uh, not because he just wanted to give someone something cool to remember, but because he needed to pay off his bookies.
I believe, not to be all well, actually, right now, but I think it's not like, memorabilia was kind of a thing. I think what he did is he was the created the idea of a brand ambassador, like
Yeah.
a
Okay.
athlete face to a brand.
Yes, 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 yes. That too, because he was like, I need money. Let me sponsor stuff. And Shohei Ohtani is not that. He is a much. I think yes, he's a very private person, so maybe we don't really know who he is. But I find it hard to believe that the guy whose mother managed his finances, his entire time he was playing in Japan, is also this degenerate gambler. I think what really happened is once you're in America and you're spending a lot of time with Ippei, and in the American culture, maybe Ippei got into gambling because he probably said, "Hey, I'm not a player. Maybe I'll try this." The players are probably given ample instruction of how to handle certain things and what line not to cross when it comes to this sort of thing. I'm sure they are because baseball specifically does a very good job.
Quickly, because I have a little bit of an experience, like I think to kind of expand on that specific point.
Yeah.
I know someone who works for MSG,
Hmm.
the company MSG, but specifically like in relation to PR, social media, working with in connection with the team's promotion, all that. This person went through multiple seminars lasting hours about what they can and cannot do in terms of
Mm.
betting. And a lot of it is can't, by the way. And they are incredibly strict. They say you with the not, you are not. You cannot have DraftKings on your phone. You cannot have an account registered to your ID and your identification nationally. It is intense and they let you know that, which is why I'm a little confused as to like with eBay, there had to be like maybe they thought, okay, the translator, we don't have to go through this process. And, being from Japan, like you
Well,
mentioned,
he
that
used an
cultural
illegal
shift.
bookie, didn't you? He wasn't using
Yeah,
DraftKings.
that's well, like it's like the cultural shift of Japan. I feel like, the
Well,
way
I think that
we
happens
talk
with
about
people
betting.
like I think there is something to say about people who grow up, especially Japan is such a stringent and their culture is very respect this, respect that. It's very it's almost like going to school. And to us, to us. And our culture is so free. Um you know, it promotes the idea of free choice and free will, above most things. So being thrust into that sort of culture, some people aren't ready for it. Um, and I believe more the lines of Ipe ran into money problems himself. But what I think also happened is that maybe Otani and them, they're really good friends. I get this sense that they're like really buddy buddy, and it's sort of like Ipe's probably like, oh, I'm getting really good at betting. Like sort of how you sort of telling me about how when you started having success in your you know life when betting was first legalized
Um,
in New York.
I'm not I'm not a translator.
No, I know. What I'm saying is you and I are very good friends. We have this casual relationship and you were like, "Yo, bro, I'm doing well. I'm, this and that. Look how much money I won." This and that. I think there was maybe some of that. And maybe Shohei, maybe this is the worst, that I would believe. Maybe Shohei was like, "Oh yeah, well here's some extra money, like throw it for me, see what you can do for me." It's sort of like how I would be like, "Oh, listen, you're really good at betting. I'm not good at betting. Here, let me give you $10. See what you can do with my $10. And if I win, I'll give you some." So I think that's what really was what it was. More than that. I don't buy this line of thinking that Shohei Ohtani was really this like invested gambler that's like throwing all this money. And I think the majority of the money that has come from it is help you know, like you said, saying I will I'll pay you. You can use this to pay back the debts. So maybe because they're such good friends, he gave him access to the account himself. You know, he's Shohei Ohtani. He's not Lord. He's not the Lord. He's not Jesus. He, as a human being, he can make financial mistakes. And it seems like he lives a life of very trusting people and with a small circle. And being that Ipe was definitely in that circle, I'm sure he trusted him. And maybe now he'll think twice. Ipe probably took more than what was thought of. And then because it was out in the open, this is now a problem. So I think that's what happened. We will obviously see more. MLB is investigating, so I think maybe that's where we should leave it for right now. That's really just the facts and the information of what we think is what's going on. But there's been more news since that even happened, and I think now that the season has started, we're not going to be seeing any more free agents that are waiting till draft day to be signed. As Jordan Montgomery and JD Martinez were both signed by JD Martinez by the Mets, Jordan Montgomery by the Diamondbacks. Those are just two quick things I wanted to say before we get into couple other things that we had to say. So very quickly, your reactions on those deals, Tyler. Yeah, your reaction.
Love the deal for the Diamondbacks getting Jordan Montgomery in there.
Yeah.
Rotation's looking good. For that contract, I would have loved to have Jordan Montgomery in St. Louis, but you know, the Diamondbacks are the winners there. They are the true winners to me. In that situation, the Mets, a little interesting to see what they're doing. This will cost them about $20 million with luxury tax implications. So maybe they are a sneaking competitive team or a team that thinks they can be sneaking competitive. Not exactly sure, but big financial commitment for them, even though it may not seem like it with JD Martinez.
Yeah, I like the move for the Mets actually. I think Cohen is definitely in these years that they're rebuilding, does not care. Like he's got to pay an astronomical amount of luxury tax anyway. What's the point of paying a little bit more? I don't think it really matters to him at this point in time. What I think matters is being able to acquire some talent that you can then turn around and continue to get some minor leaguers because I think right now they're high on Acuna, the brother of Ronald. Luis Angel, however you want to say it. And I think that would be the smart move. JD Martinez, he said himself, something we've been echoing, the that free agents are turning down AT&T Oracle Park rather because of its poorly designed dimensions. And JD Martinez said that. He said, if I don't have a good year there because of my age, I'm done. I'm out of baseball. That's my last year. The Mets City Field is a different story. I hit well there in general. Hitters hit well there in general as well. Let's go play ball. Let's see what happens. And I can see the Mets turning him at the trade deadline, get some talent somewhere, and he said he's addicted to making the playoffs. That was in the press conference, and everyone was memeing it, being like, "Oh, well, glad to see he's getting rid of his addiction and joining the Mets." Haha. I think this is alluding to the fact that he's going to be with a different team come the trade deadline, and that team is going to need him to help him make the playoffs. And that's, I think, something to think about as we see the season progress. The Montgomery deal was amazing. I love it. He goes to a team that really needs him. I think he was getting a raw deal with all that was happening. Everyone was waiting for Snell to sign, and then the only reports were that he was going to go to Boston, but Boston wanted his price to go down, and I thought he just should say goodbye. No, I'm not doing that. If you're not taking me now at this price, I'm not going to let you wait around and take me at a lower price. That's like an insulting thing to hear. So I'm glad he went to the Diamondbacks, and that's a much better situation. And for me, I think he's going to succeed. That's a good ballpark for sure. I'm excited about that. I think you wanted to talk about something else though. So I wanted to just sandwich that in there, just be a quick kind of thing, let the people know. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, totally. Do you want to move on to this final discussion here before like this
Yeah.
last topic? All
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
word perfect. Obviously, yes, I think this was kind of something that caught my eye very much so. What I'm talking about is the drama that's going on between the MLBPA and the actual players in that MLBPA leadership and the body that of the union is not exactly aligned. Um, we heard, I think this is about maybe almost 2 weeks old at this point, but news broke late that um, Tony Clark's second, basically vice person, second in command, was wanted out by the players. They wanted him gone. They wanted him replaced by um, Harry Marino, I think his name is. Basically, the guy who spearheaded the unionization efforts for the minor leagues. Um, and I think we talked about a little bit last time connecting the dots of these contracts for a lot of mid-tier players not exactly evolving too much over
Hmm.
time. The big guys are definitely getting more, and there's definitely more assurances for younger players as well. But that middle tier of guy is suffering, and I don't mean middle tier of just like an average player. Like in middle tier guy on the market is struggling,
Yeah.
and I think things are getting stale, and that's a dangerous part to be in if you are running the PA, aka Tony Clark, in this situation. Things have not exactly improved as much as they had in his early tenure. He was responsible for a ton of growth in the players union early on. And there are specific things that you can point to that he did that led those things to where we are now. However, now we're in a little bit of a different time period in baseball. And if we look at something that I think would be intriguing, if you were a player to be a person at the forefront of leadership, is a guy who just spearheaded a massively unique effort to unionize minor league players, an effort that was fought against by a lot of different people, a lot of important people, a lot of people with influence. And this guy made it happen and did something that really had not been done before at any point by another sporting organization. And it's been implemented relatively well for what the baseball players want. So I totally understand why you'd want this guy. And then if I'm Tony Clark, everything that I've heard is he's not really backing down. He wants this guy. And I think this is a slippery slope. Definitely paying attention to how this plays out, see who wins. But I don't think who wins the short term battle is what matters. It's this statement being made and the officially publicly expressing discontent and displeasure with the person running the Players Association and the ripple effects that will have in the future.
Yeah, so I think it's a very interesting situation that's going on, right? I think not to get too political, but I think like most things and like any union that exists, I think people, people unions have their purpose, but then when the people at the top are no longer looking or are no longer prioritizing the job, they're prioritizing how to stay in the job, things can get very murky and things can get lost track of what the actual purpose of a union is. And I think, especially when you talk about athletic unions, we're talking about much bigger money values and much arbitrary things than say a union for bus drivers or factory workers or things. We're talking about a much bigger scale of money here. So the money being doled out, like there's not as much sympathy, I think, for the people the union are representing is what I'm trying to get at, right? But the players union still does serve its purpose. There was a time when players had no say in when they were even going, where they were even going, and they could just be cut at any point. Willie Mays won an MVP award and then got a pay cut one year. Like crazy things were happening, right? They had second jobs, you know, really, really weird, crazy things. But we're in a different time now, and what I think we've been seeing is, yeah, Tony Clark did do really good things, but what we were also seeing is this bigger disparity between the quote unquote rights, I guess, of the top players. The top players get whatever they want. They get these top contracts, these big pay raises, and all these things that benefit them. And then, like you said, the minor leaguers have really gotten the things that have been needed. The minor leaguers make worse salaries than like teachers do, and the classic thing is that teachers don't get paid enough, right? So it's a crazy situation that was finally somewhat remedied recently, and that's also a good thing. But there's this the people in the middle, which I think are the majority of the representatives of the players union, I think are not fully being represented now. As you said, their contracts are not as safe as they once were. As I even briefly mentioned with someone like JD Martinez, someone whose career, especially with a DH in both leagues now, should definitely be able to be continued. The only place he could sign with is the Mets, because if he went to the other place, it would be his last year because of the stadium dimensions. Like, you're seeing a player that should get other looks than just the Mets, frankly, to be honest. And he's saying it was either the Mets or the Giants, and I couldn't do it because of the ballpark. Um, and I think that's where the issue is. Those players are feeling a little bit left out. Uh, there's plenty of guys that, if you gave me the time over the years, I've casually gone, oh, he's not on a team right now, and then it goes from he's not on a team right now to you've just forgotten about him and now he's retired, and it is what it is. And so I think maybe this move here is signaling that maybe Tony Clark is going to be next. If the replacement of the guy under him is going to be someone more looking out for the players, maybe as time goes on, that guy then replaces Tony Clark. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. It's an interesting situation. There's definitely some friction between the heads of the union and the people that union is supposed to represent, huh?
Yeah. I think, not that you left me speechless or anything, but I totally think that the way you described it is near flawless. Bring up especially, someone like JD Martinez. One aspect you didn't bring up there is like, what have the Mets done year after year after year with Cohen is be the big spenders, be the market setters.
Hmm.
It's almost like, all right, the only way you can get paid is by reverting to the big boss man.
Yeah,
And
the guy
then
who doesn't care.
but it's also like, then people complain about the lack of competitiveness, or like these teams having such drastically high payrolls comparatively. And it's just like, wait, what if you're JD Martinez, where do you go? What else do you do? Of course, there's no other option. So totally agree everything you're saying. I definitely think it's not a matter of if Tony Clark can survive this, but what he can do after whatever happens to kind of keep himself from being more vulnerable in the future, because something like this is an incredibly massive hit to what he's trying to do and his security in that job.
Is he elected like after every few years, or is he just
I
like
think it's
appointed?
some type of appointment,
Okay, yeah. And
whatnot.
if there's like a vote of no confidence, then so be it, or that sort of thing. When's the next CBA like agreement? Do you know? Do you know when the next one happens? No? Because I'm trying to think, like maybe that could be his chance to right the ship if it's soon. Otherwise, maybe the off season we'll hear more drama about this, or even maybe during the season we'll say, it's just crazy. I mean, you could look around the league. You got people like, you have to go to like specific teams. Like, it's the makeup of their team. The Phillies, for example, they've got Nick Castellanos and Kyle Schwarber both on the same team. In reality, that offseason should have been them going on different teams. But there wasn't another team like the Phillies at that moment who was looking for that tier of player that thought that they can compete and add to their team. It was, those teams were a little scared, or you have this segment of the population of teams that are revenue sharing moochers, and will just do whatever they can to be just competitive enough to give their fans hope, so they spend tickets, but not competitive enough to lose the revenue share. The nutting, as I've heard people describe it after the guy who owns the Pirates. Yeah, so I think that's an interesting thing. We'll see what happens with that. I wanted to do something very quick to close out the podcast, though. I have put together a list of 3 things that I'm excited for as the season starts, because tomorrow we're going to try to put this out in time for opening day. Tomorrow is opening day. So this is to be excited. It's time. It's time. Baseball is here. Meaningful games are upon us. So Tyler, this will be the final thoughts. I guess it's a mini segment as opposed to me just like putting it on you. But things that I'm excited for this season. I'm excited, of course, to see Aaron Judge and Juan Soto play together and be 3 and 4 hitters. I really think we're going to see something that we haven't really seen in a while or at all. I don't know if you remember from Moneyball the scene where they're talking about Kevin Youkilis right before he fires Art Howe, and Jonah Hill's character that describes Kevin Youkilis as the Greek god of walks. Well, Juan Soto, I think, actually is the Greek god of walks at this current time. Yeah, obviously it's Barry Bonds, but at this point in time, active players, it's Juan Soto. He's got this cockiness ability to see the ball, where he'll even do the Soto shuffle. No one else does that, because no one else is that confident about taking a pitch and being able to walk like that. And having him in front of Aaron Judge, you walk that guy and now you're forced to face Aaron Judge, the guy who is the only person who has the ability to, if he puts any decent amount of contact on the ball, it's a home run. It doesn't matter where it goes, in any direction, it's a home run. More of his home runs are not pulled home runs. They're opposite field home runs, and they are pulled. Like that's how incredible Aaron Judge is. So the duo, I think we're going to see just an extraordinary season. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is Tariq Skubal. Everyone forgets about the Tigers because they have not been able to produce anything really over the last decade plus, maybe, I guess, at this point, really since their run at the World Series with Miggy and Verlander, Scherzer, that rotation and stuff. They really, every prospect they've had the opportunity to put out, they've failed with, and maybe Torkelson has been a success kind of, but they wanted him to be Adley, and Adley's much different. But one player that they have hit on that's, I think, right now finally getting love, that I will admit Tyler put me on to early on, is Tariq Skubal. He is an incredible player. He's a true ace, I think, in the true sense of the word. But he's young. He's a young guy, and hopefully he can carry the Tigers to some success. But I think it's worth watching him throughout the season. He's going to be great. He's going to be amazing. He is also on my fantasy team, so I am a little partial on him. And then the last thing I wanted to say, I was trying to be a little reserved about when we were talking about Jordan Montgomery, but watch out for these Diamondbacks. I mean, I was really excited for them, to be honest, for the World Series. I wanted them to win. I really wanted that underdog story, but I was happy that the Rangers got their first ever World Series. I think that was good too for baseball. But I was rooting for the Diamondbacks, to be honest with everyone. And to see that they made meaningful improvements in the offseason before the Montgomery deal, and then they went out and did this and said, hey, if no one's going to get him, we'll take him. I think, everyone talked about the Giants and what are the Giants going to do, blah, 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 in this, now that they're in competition with the Padres and the Dodgers. Look out for the Diamondbacks. They might be in so much more of a better position than the Padres are. This is just me last minute thoughts. I'm not willing to really stick to that, but I'm excited for the Diamondbacks. So watch out for the Diamondbacks. Watch out for the duo of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and watch out for Tariq Skubal. Those are the things I'm excited for this season. Tyler, I'll turn it over to you to end the pod.
Yeah, definitely agree with you that the Diamondbacks are exciting. We'll see about the Dodgers. I don't know if they'll eclipse that mark. That's
wild card. They made the wild card last year.
I know. What I'm excited for this year is to continue watching all these young top prospects pull up quickly and pull up and make impact quickly.
Oh, that's all. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's cool. We're seeing the that rule in the CBA really taking effect. Growing up for us, it was like, oh my God, when is this guy coming up? Chris Bryant was the famous case. They put a billboard up being like, angry that Chris Bryant is, or I think Chris Bryant put a billboard up that he was angry, like, sorry Chicago, like I'm not up with the team yet, like that sort of thing. It was ridiculous. And now I think it's nice. We even got that spring breakout series during spring training, all the prospects playing each other. That was cool. That was fun. They spent more time in spring training than they have in recent memory. So I agree with you. Let's go Jackson Holiday, Carter, Junior Caminero when he comes up, your whole fantasy team eventually. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a really fun year. So guys, thank you for listening to the morning run. Hopefully you will catch us every week throughout the season. We're here to talk about all the baseball news out there, and just make sure to like and subscribe and share with everyone so more people know, because we have a unique take on baseball. I think it's something that is not like what most people put out there. We're not afraid to put our honest thoughts, and I think this year is going to be really fun. It's going to be really fun. Are you excited, Tyler?
I'm so excited. So excited for baseball. Now wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a real fun year. So, thank you everyone for listening. We will see you guys next week.